Vice Mayor Danko?
Yes.
Councilmember Clufus?
Nay.
Councilmember Pontieri?
Yes.
Mayor Alfin?
Yes.
The motion passes 3-1.
The Palm Coast City Council has moved closer to implementing a utility franchise fee, which could increase your power bills by up to 10%. However, the final decision on whether to introduce the fee and its specific details will be made by the voting public through a binding referendum. Vice Mayor Ed Danko.
Again, I think that keeping our word to the public that we made 10 months ago and allowing voters to make that decision, which would force our council or a future council to have to sell that decision to the public. And if it was something that everyone agreed was good, then there would be no problem. But I think, again, making it non-binding just basically insults our voters, and I'm not prepared to do that.
Councilwoman Kathy Hyder did not participate in the vote because she had left the meeting by the time it took place. Councilman Nick Clufus was the sole no vote.
It is my opinion that this is a perfect example on why we have to make the tough decisions up here, because no matter what, we hear franchise fee, people think raise taxes, but that's not the case. This could lower the total amount that a resident pays in the city of Palm Coast.
Mayor David Alfin says that this will compel the council to find innovative solutions.
This will put additional pressure or responsibility on each of us to identify alternative revenue sources, because we're going to have to identify some to keep up. And, avoiding the taxpayers, great, but each of us is going to have to get creative and come forward with ideas in addition to making sure that we are operating as efficiently and effectively as we possibly can, which was the reason for the rollback last year. But I think in addition to that, we're going to have to think through, are there additional revenue streams that we might identify for the future that we haven't thought of before?
A referendum has not been scheduled, but could appear on the November ballot. Good morning, Flagler County. I'm Rich Carroll. You're listening to Flagler's Morning News on Wednesday, June 19th. Flagler County Sheriff's Office deputies had a busy weekend.
A rather mysterious case of a domestic disturbance got deputies responding to a problem in Palm Coast. Flagler County Sheriff Rick Staley.
When deputies tried to determine what was going on, they turned on the deputies, and the female physically went back into the bedroom and closed the doors. A struggle ensued where deputies had to deploy a taser. They took the family trip to the Green Roof Inn.
Then the see something, say something policy helped to nab a criminal.
In this case, the sheriff's office received a call from a passerby that saw a verbal argument occurring in a U-Haul vehicle nearby in the Peace section of Palm Coast. Deputies observed a vehicle that was beginning to leave the area and stopped it. And during the conversation, Zachary Haslam used both his hands to batter the female right in front of deputies.
And then a convicted felon found out what happens when taking a drive through Flagler County.
In this case, a vehicle was observed driving that possibly the driver had a suspended license. Upon stopping the car, the smell of fresh marijuana was coming from the vehicle. And both occupants stated they did not possess a medical marijuana card.
In total, Flagler County Sheriff's Office deputies made 38 arrests this past weekend and handled 454 calls for service and made 160 traffic stops. For Flagler's local morning news, I'm Karen Johnson.
This local news is a service of Flagler County's Toyota dealer, Beaver Toyota US 1 St. Augustine, here to wow you. The Florida Department of Environmental Protection was managing permits for stormwater wetlands, but a federal judge had other ideas.
That federal judge decided that the Army Corps of Engineers would now handle the permits. When she was in Washington, D.C. with the National Home Builders Association, Anna Marie Long said there's now a backlog of permits.
The Army Corps District in Jacksonville is reporting a current backlog of 1,500 development permits.
Long said some home builders are pulling projects because they cannot get the permits.
We have at least one builder who's pulled the plug on 50,000 single-family homes in the Central Florida area because the permitting is not happening.
She said the association is asking Congress to give permitting back to the FDEP so that builders can get permits. Long said that the Army Corps of Engineers admitted they don't have the staff to handle permitting. Real Estate Matters with host Toby Tobin is on WNZF Saturday mornings at 11, and it's on the Flagler radio app. Tomorrow, is there a home builder shortage? From the WNZF Newsroom, I'm Deb Albertson.
And now you're up to date on Flagler's Morning News. I'm Rich Carroll.